Yodelay, yodelay, yodelay. Hee-hoo. Hello, first graders. How are you doing? It is Mr. Berglund here. Welcome to another asynchronous science lesson activity extravaganza. Woo, 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 woo. All right, so today we have a fun lesson. We're going to continue our exploration of sound. All right, so I'm going to do something first. I'm going to do something, and this is what I need you to do. I need you to go ahead and close your eyes because I want you to use your ears. You got to use these old ears, the old flappers. If you were Dumbo, you'd be flapping your big old ears, all right? I want you to use your ears to listen, all right? I am going to make a sound, and with your eyes closed, I want you to see if you can identify what it is, what object made that sound, all right? I'm going to be covering it here with this piece of cardboard so that you do not know what it is, all right? I'm going to drop this object, and I want you to try and identify with your eyes closed, listening, what that sound is. You ready? Any idea what it is? Go ahead and raise your hand. I'm going to do it one more time. See if you know what that sound is. Any ideas? Go ahead and pause this video. See if you guys want to share with the class. What do you think that object was that I dropped onto the table? Okay, remember, because this is an asynchronous video, you can always pause and unpause this video when you're ready to continue. How many of you said a coin? If you said a coin, you were correct, but here's the question. Do you know what type of coin? Was it a penny? Was it a nickel? Was it a dime? Was it a quarter? For bonus points, it was a penny. The old Abraham Lincoln coin, 1 cent. All right? So what we were doing, right, you were using your ears and you're trying to identify the sound of this object, which was a penny. Now, at the beginning of the school year, we were investigating solids and liquids. We were identifying the properties, right, identifiable characteristics, properties, right? You were touching objects to see how they feel, the texture. You were observing the color, how, were they hard or soft? And another property that we can use to identify certain objects is their sound, right? The sound, how certain objects sound when they fall or hit something. Now go ahead and use your own noggin, use your noodle, use your brain. And I want you to think about, can you think of any objects that you use in your everyday life that have a distinctive sound? That if you heard it fall, you're like, oh, I knew what that was. So go ahead and pause this video. Share with the classmates, are there any objects that you know of that when they fall, you can identify what they are right away? I don't know about you, now that we're kind of coming back from our discussion, is what about when you drop a ball on the ground? Does that sound familiar to you? Could you easily identify, oh, that's a ball? What about maybe a ball hitting a bat? Or maybe, I don't know, a cup falling on the ground. If you close your eyes and you heard a little would you know that that was a cup or glass breaking? So, the reason I bring that up and we're talking about identifying sounds is because this is what our activity is going to be. So, for this activity, you're going to need to get some supplies from your science kit. All right? So why don't you go ahead and take out your paper cup first. We can kind of put all of our supplies in this as well. You're going to use this paper cup as well. Okay? So in your paper cup, I want you to find your little ball of foil. Place that ball right up in your little cup, all right? Once you got your foil, go ahead and find your clothespin. Drop that on in the cup, all right? So we should have our foil and our clothespin in our paper cup. Go ahead and find your popsicle stick. Please do not put this in your mouth. Drop it on in your paper cup. You're going to find a little paper clip. Go ahead and put that paper clip right in the cup. Plastic spoon, everybody. Plastic spoon. We're not going to be eating no applesauce. All right, it's not time for lunch, people. Put it down. Put it right in your cup because we're going to be using it for science. So we're going to do a little practice round. And what I want you to do is, now that you have all of your supplies, your objects in your cup, I want you to just you probably are at a desk or at a table. I want you to drop these objects on the table because I want you to become familiar with how they sound when they hit the table. So hopefully maybe Mr. Charkis and Miss Hagee, they can put maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes if you're feeling crazy on the clock. And I want to give you guys that much time, 3 to 5 minutes, to drop these objects one at a time on the table, because I want you to be familiar with how they sound when they hit the ground, because you're going to have to use this information for another activity that we do. So if I had the spoon, I would maybe drop this a couple of times to see if I could identify how it sounds. Same with the popsicle stick. So go ahead, do this activity for a couple minutes, familiarize yourself with the sounds. Pause this video and then we'll come back. Hey, how'd that investigation go? Was it good or was it a good time? Everybody, science is fine. Alright, so now that you guys hopefully are familiar with how your objects sound when they fall and hit a surface, this is where our game and activity comes in. So if you are on campus at school, Mr. Charkis and Miss Hagee, they have pieces of cardboard that I gave to them. And what you're going to have to do is socially distance with a partner. Is you are going to hold up that piece of cardboard in front of you, and you are going to drop one of these objects, either your paper cup, ball of foil, plastic spoon, paper clip, popsicle stick, or your clothespin. You're going to drop them one at a time. And you're not going to tell your partner what object it is you're dropping. So I'm just going to drop an object. I'll do that one more time. Because you can't see it, you don't know what object I dropped. But you could hear what that object was. So if I was doing this, if it was my turn, I would drop an object. And then you, whoever was my partner, now after listening, you have to look through your objects, and try and think, what material makes that sound? And then on the other side, you're going to drop that object to see if it matches the sound. And then you guys are you're going to move the cardboard and be like, I dropped my clothespin. And you'd be like, hey, I dropped my clothespin too. Or, silly me, I dropped my popsicle stick. They don't have the same sound. So it's kind of like a hidden sound game of memory. Can you remember what those different sounds sound like when you were doing this on your own? Then you're going to put up your screen, your cardboard, and you're going to drop an object. Your partner is going to to listen, and then try and match the sound that they heard by dropping another object to see if you can both were dropping the same object. Okay? Now for those students who are at home, this is what you can do. There are a few remote students, which is wonderful. And so what I was thinking is if Mr. Charkis or Miss Hagee could kind of mute the whole class, that way they're not hearing other sounds, is that those students that are at home on their computer, they could hold up a book, something that could hide what they're doing, and the remote students could do this together, because if the on-campus class is muted, then the students who are at home can all mute themselves at one time. One person at a time can try and drop an object, and then the rest of the remote students can try and match it by dropping that sound too. Alright, so if I was at home, I drop that sound, and then the rest of the remote students try and find the right object to drop that makes that same sound. And then once you're done, you're going to discuss how did it go, how many found it easy, and we're going to talk about it, alright? So put 5 to 7 minutes on this for this activity, however much time you guys want. Go ahead and do this activity. Pause this video, we're going to come back. Alright, how did it go? Did you guys have fun? So you were I almost choked on my gum, that's why I was like freaking out. So you were just trying to do a drop challenge where you were dropping objects that were hidden, and your partner had to find and drop an object that had that same sound. You kind of dropped the same object. So thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. How did it go for you? Were there any objects that had really easily identifiable sounds that you're like, oh, I definitely knew that a plastic spoon made like that, and it was easy for you to want to kind of match that sound? Were there any objects that you're like, that was actually a tough one to figure out and you had a hard time matching it? That's okay, guys, because sounds are properties and we're going to keep investigating sounds, but the key takeaway is that all objects make a sound when they're dropped. And we have to use our ears, right, the body part, to help us identify those sounds. And then going forward next class, we're going to do another activity that's really fun to see how sound moves. All right, first graders, you are awesome. I miss you. I'll see you soon.